love me. And I've learned to love you too. Never have I felt that I could be all that you see. It's like our hearts have been entwined into the perfect harmony. This is why I love you. Oh, this is why I love you. Because you love me. You love me. This is why I love you. This is why I love you. Because you love me. You love me. Okay, let's go ahead and get this thing started. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the first Monday in November.
Yes.
It's Mike and Wendy, and we are here in the Marriage Shop.
Yes. Good evening, Nate Parsons, Jessica Jones, Tasha Jones. No relation, but maybe. John McNeil. Glad you guys could join us. Jeff
Oh,
Hill.
John
Thanks for
McNeil.
joining
Oh,
us.
what's going
Yes.
on? Okay.
I don't know what them boys gonna do. What them boys
Oh,
gonna
y'all,
do?
you already know what them boys gonna do. All
Monday
right,
Night Football.
don't get this started tonight.
Yes.
All right, but I
Yes.
mean, because but I'm ready to get it
Yeah.
started if
Yeah.
anybody
No,
wants.
we're not getting that started
Are you,
just yet.
okay? Let's stay focused. All right.
About them Cowboys.
Yeah. So we are here tonight. First Wednesday. I'm tripping. First Monday in November.
Yes.
And man, it's a chilly Monday here in Georgia. I'm not used to these highs of 60s.
It's a cold
Wendy has
Monday here
on
in Georgia.
boots and a big old coat with a hood, 3 layers, all kinds of stuff.
Yes.
It's too
Yes,
much.
I do. Yes,
But
I do.
we'll make it.
All
I'm
right.
still try to go fishing though. But
Yes.
that's another story. Anyway, we had a good weekend, another good weekend. Even though it's not one of those ones that I don't really remember what happened. It's all a blur.
Weekend? What do we do?
Yeah, it's a blur, right? And so it's here, it's gone. Oh, but we did.
Oh yeah, we had the Hallelujah Festival and the barbecue, first annual barbecue cook-off at OGBC.
Yeah,
That was the weekend.
that's right. Sure did. We had the because of the Hallelujah Festival or the Jubilee Festival or the Harvest. Whatever. I'm not sure what we call it, to be honest with you. But it just so happens that those events, our first annual cook-off and that the festival were not supposed to happen in conjunction, but it actually turned out to be great. It was a real blessing.
Yeah.
It was a great day for it. Yeah, it was a great day for it, and so I think we might have found ourselves a little formula there. We'll find out.
Yeah, lots and lots of kids, and so kids, right? Kids ministry, kids coming to your house saying trick or treat, kids,
that's right.
Kids.
And speaking of that, oh man, kids. I don't, I had my official like I'm seriously about to be 50 moment. Actually, I blame you because I don't know what I was gonna do, but we just planted grass. Sometimes we'll do that in the wintertime, right?
Oh,
and
oh my goodness.
And so that's what Halloween's coming, and these kids they just run just straight across the yard, up the hill. Right? I mean, they don't even care. They just like they're sidewalks. You don't need no stinking sidewalks. You just go. And so I'm like, no, ain't happening. So Wendy was gonna be gracious and like park at the end of the driveway, like with a little pop-up tent.
Yes.
I'm like, you know what?
Neighbors.
That's a great idea. But the wind was blowing so hard, I was afraid it was gonna get carried away.
We had a tornado watch.
Yeah.
If you're not in the Georgia area, it was a rough week for us.
Yeah. And so I was like, you know what? And then she said, well, I just put a chair down there. I'm like, nah, I can't do that. So we just backed the truck up down to the edge of the driveway, dropped the tailgate down, and that's where we sat.
Yeah.
With a little blanket and handed
out Halloween party in the back of the truck.
Played some music, had the lights on.
Music.
Wendy, she's not lying. She told me to put on country. So
we had a blast.
Hey, the neighbors liked it.
We had a blast. I mean,
was good.
We don't get into the argument. A lot of Christians kind of struggle and tuggle.
Oh, gracious.
With, whether or not they celebrate Halloween. And so I personally have always enjoyed the little ones getting into character, like the under five babies who transform and become whoever it is that they're dressed up as.
Yeah.
I've never been a fan of little witches or demons, but I can tell
Oh,
you,
you
I
love you
mean,
some
Buzz
Pikachu and
Lightyear or Pikachu or
Mario.
princesses or
Some of your
Mario
favorites.
or I remember our neighbor came over and he was the monster from Monsters Inc. and it just
Oh
makes my
yeah. Oh,
heart
he was
melt.
Mike Wazowski, right?
Yeah.
That was
And
funny.
so
Yeah.
no, he was Sully.
Okay. Who was
Yeah.
Mike Wazowski? Somebody got
Nobody
somebody.
was there. Like, yeah, anyway.
Whatever. I like
So
Mike.
I enjoy that. And as good neighbors, I think it is important to show kids that, in your neighborhood, people are nice and they're happy
Mhm.
to see you and you have a good experience. So
Yeah.
I always enjoy participating in that way. So that's what we did. That's how we started it. And then we went into the weekend with what we talked about. So here we are back
Yeah.
again, first week in November, and we are excited to now talk about the runner up from our poll last week.
That's right. And the timing is perfect because we did just have Halloween. And if you live in a neighborhood with young kids, then I'm pretty sure that it was busy in your neighborhood. There's somewhere that it's just dark, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, kids everywhere. And I
Hmm.
mean everywhere. Little ones, infants, toddlers, preteens,
Yeah,
right?
there was one toddler. There were six adults with one toddler. It had to be her.
This is
It
her
was her
first.
first.
Yeah, she's like two,
So it was like,
and she was single parts of that candy either. Trust
yeah,
me.
she
I
she she
I
did
know that.
say thank you though.
She
She
did.
did.
She
She
was a
didn't run. She
sweetie.
said thank you.
She was
But
sweetie,
the whole family was out for her
right?
inaugural
Yeah.
Halloween tour. So anyway,
Yeah, and you think, I mean, because babies, right? They
yes.
when kids come along, they make everything better and the family stronger, and it is happiness and joy like every day until they have to go off to college, and then it's sadness.
Okay, no. Okay, let's back up to happiness and joy. And what that means, right? Because a lot of people when they first get married, they dream about, well, before they get
Wait a
married,
minute, wait a
they
minute, wait a minute.
what?
Are you about to do what I think you're about to do? Because
What?
I I think you continue.
They dream about what it is to have a family and have kids.
Okay, all right, continue. What you? Are you talking to people?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So anyway, so that's how it usually starts. So you're talking about happiness and joy, and that's how it starts. And that's what you put it all together. Hey, Tanya, Michelle, Xavier, Lucky Senior, Latoya Jones, and Jalen Jones. Thanks for joining us. We are Mike and Wendy Perry in the Marriage Shop, and tonight we're talking about whether or not children or kids cause
That
divorce.
feels touchy to even say it out
It
loud.
does. It
I'm pretty
does.
sure some of y'all read that. You're like, ooh, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
These are my babies, my pride and joy. I couldn't live without them, right? But you've also heard us say, well, you've heard me say that,
Mm-hmm.
that the word says that the enemy comes to steal, to kill, and destroy. And I've been like, well, what about them kids? Because they didn't come to build nothing up. They came
Yeah.
to eat, to drink, and like tear your house up. Maybe is that in? I think
Mm.
that's
No,
in
no,
chat. That's
not in the word.
okay.
No, no.
That's in the
So,
microverse.
so if you are parents out there, we definitely invite you to chime in. And if you're not parents yet, but you're planning to be, we also want you to chime in. Hey, Alice Starbanks, thanks for joining us.
Now,
And
I think it's important to say too
what?
that we can cover a little bit of ground tonight. You must understand, and we love our children, and we know you love your children too. Okay, so whatever you say, I don't need you to spend a paragraph setting it up, like But we love them. Got it. Do anything for them. Trust me. And I'm documented. I'm talking about anything. Middle of the night, I will drive 100 miles for those girls. Right.
Yes.
I mean, I will like sacrifice food, comfort, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
that's the last time I'm gonna offer any caveats. Y'all know where I stand on the girls, all right?
Yes.
All right.
Yes. So we're not questioning whether or not you love children or that they bring love, happiness, joy, or other, boundless contributions to your family and to your marriage. But this topic actually came up. It
Mm-hmm.
was a suggestion. And so we were tagged in a post that was on Facebook
Mm-hmm.
by one of our associate ministers at our church.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we saw it. And the question that was put out there that said, asking for a friend, do kids cause divorce? Cookie cutter church need
Oh
to
yeah.
talk about real issues,
Yeah.
right? And so, so she tagged us and said, "I know two people who are not afraid to talk about this."
Yeah.
So here we are, two people not afraid to talk about it.
Not afraid.
So, as you all know, our position is that, and our hope is that your marriage does not end in divorce.
Yes.
The whole premise and the whole reason and our whole motivation for even doing this weekly is to try to reach out, connect, and help and equip other people, other marriages, so that they don't look at divorce as an option.
Yeah.
Yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
Go
No,
ahead.
I was gonna say because oftentimes divorce is the result of unmet expectations, sometimes unrealistic expectations, and somehow when you get into trouble, it just feels like you're by yourself. And a lot of people are ashamed to even admit they're in trouble or to say anything to anyone or to reach out for help or even to just get hope from somewhere because everything they see looks perfect oftentimes.
Mm,
And it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
so our job in a sense is to remove the veil of perfection and say, you know what, it's not perfect. It can be amazing and
Yes.
just not perfect, right? I mean, because everybody has problems as you continue to develop and grow and live.
Hmm.
Problems are going to come, period. So if you're trying to um and I said period, right. Morgan told me I put a T on the end of
Yeah,
my
you
anyway.
did the other day.
But if you're trying to kind of get through marriage and live the dream of everything's perfect because we're in love and we got married, now it's going to be even better. Troubles are over. No, it's just not realistic. So that's why we're here.
Right. Well, and the thing is, I
Hmm.
mean, as long as anybody who is alive will have days of joy and also days of trouble, right? I mean,
Hmm.
that's just the truth that
Hmm.
we will never get through um, our entire lives never experiencing some type of challenge.
I mean, frankly, if we're talking marriage, you good to get through a whole week without experiencing some type of challenge. Can I get an amen on that? All right.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so
So anyway, so as we talk about this topic, and this time we won't make you wait. In terms of what our thoughts are on this, when this came through, and I think it was a little over a week ago, my first thought was no, kids do not cause divorce. They what they do is they may highlight, they may accentuate, they may exasperate, they might unveil other issues that you're having and make it more difficult. But in and of themselves, kids do not cause divorce. Hey,
yeah,
Dynasty
I
Blue.
I guess so.
Yes.
Maybe we could. Well, actually, that was I was going to say something. I think it was very
Yeah.
negative.
Well, our
Anyway,
star says yes. I agree that high expectations can cause
yeah,
divorce.
no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
kids don't cause divorce, obviously, right? But they will, if whatever that thing is you got going on, that exacerbate it. They will expose it, then they will grab it, kind of like on that movie where you reach in and grab it, like when it's like the heart is still like beating, and it's like throw it on the ground. They will
Okay.
stomp on it, and then they will smile doing it, and then eat your
Mm-hmm.
cereal
Mm-hmm.
and drink up
Mm-mm-mm.
all the milk.
Right.
I'm done. I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Yeah. Well, the thing
I
about
guess
this
it's a
is
joke.
that oftentimes you hear people say, we've heard a lot of couples say that the only reason why they're staying married is because of the kids,
Yes.
right? And
Hmm.
so I'm sure you may have heard that, or you may know people who have said that as well. And so when we get into either why you got married, what your expectations were for when you did get married,
Hmm.
or why you are staying married, tonight we're talking about the role that kids play
Yeah.
in that continuum. Hey, Lynn Lou Williams, thanks for joining us. And Nate Parsons, it's always good to see you. And Nate said, adults who act like kids contribute to a marriage climate that increases the chance that divorce is seen as an option. All righty.
Maybe so, Nate. Maybe. Kind of inflammatory,
Yeah,
I think. Adults who act, so, but
yeah. We
suppose,
actually talking about real kids
and we talk
though.
about adult acting adults, right?
Yes, yes. But good
But
point. Good point.
yeah, no question. I mean, I think a lot of adults, they get married for a lot of reasons, and potentially they're not even ready.
Hmm.
But let's just we want to take the scenario tonight and say, you know what, you got married, you knew that was, they were the one, and hey, we're gonna do this, we're gonna have a family, it's gonna be amazing, and you walk into it eyes wide open, got a plan, have kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's it. That's the setup.
Okay. Well, what's next?
Well, and then everything changes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the first change for me was when, because even when you were pregnant, right? I mean, it was like there was, there was this baby, right? And so, but fundamentally, I think most of the changes were happening with you, and and we were trying to, I was making adjustments and trying to be accommodating and all that, but there wasn't a separate human being in the house, right?
Right.
And so, at the moment she was born, I was overcome with this feeling of, wow, God, this is a person where there was no one, and it changes everything as a father, and oh man, all the things I need to do and how I need to be and change and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And then you go home and they're new and they smell like baby. Amazing. Right.
Okay.
But then tension comes often. Right. Tension from say, well, the fact that you breastfed for like what seemed 5 years, couldn't have been that long. It was more like a year and a half,
like
I guess.
6 months.
It was only 6 months.
Yeah, 9 months.
9 months. Whatever it was a long time, right? And so that's something that is different. And so whereas now when and now could be us and we cuddle, but now there's another human being, but it's a baby, so it's really you like, oh, that's good though, right? But it's just a little something there, and then there's how we do things, and you always talk about how you do things. At least we did. But every now and then, things are, there's maybe a little something there, right? In terms of, no, I wouldn't have done it that way. Maybe you should do it this way. Then they become toddlers, and now all of a sudden we have behavior things. And they run and they scream and they cry and tension. Then they're in the store. You got to threaten them. You better get up, or I'm gonna spank you. Blah blah. And then, Wendy comes home one day and from church, and I think I was in grad school. I didn't go to church, or maybe I came in early or something. Maybe I went to an early service. So I was sitting at the computer when they walked in the house, and she just like, you need to spank them. I'm like, what? She was like, yeah, they did X, Y, Z. You need to spank them. And she walked out. You remember that?
Nope.
That totally happened. And then when I didn't immediately spank them, she was a little salty with me.
Oh no! So what happened was that.
Oh, you remember now?
That was we were at Michelle and Andrew's house, and they were a little bit older, and I came home and I said that. That's what that was. It wasn't after church.
Well,
but yes,
okay,
but
church,
I did.
Michelle and Andrew.
I did come
Where
home
are
and
Michelle
say,
and Andrew anyway?
I don't know, but I did say yes. You need to spank them.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so that created a little bit of tension because I didn't. I'm like, I wasn't there. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, what am I spanking them for? Why don't you spank them, right?
Yeah. Well, let's see. So Ellis Starbreak said, as a family, you have to communicate your issues at hand. You're right. And we it's something that we talk about each week, right? Being open, having regular communication, and revisiting some things that you may think that you already know. So great point. Then Shalonda Morris, hey, she says, hey, y'all, I love the kids, but still kill and destroy is accurate. They can steal time with their extracurriculars and kill sexy time by refusing to go to bed for sure. Yes, and we talked about that last week. We were celebrating with one of the people that join us every week that she finally got the toddler out of her bed.
Yeah.
It is that challenge when they're little of wanting to be close to you, and as Mike was kind of laying out the timeline, how we go from having them to weaning them to putting them in their own rooms, and that whole process to help them grow. But it's an infant that can interrupt that sexy time, and then toddlers or older who will knock on the door or cry at the door or walk in on you. That also has an impact of for years. What do we do? Do we know, and how do they know?
For years. In
fact, Cassandra Garza, yes. Hey.
So listen, the irony though, right? The way that you get them,
right?
They come in and they try to jack up your sex life, right? So
they do in a number of ways.
A number of ways, and so we're big advocates of, like, if when it's time, if you have your child sleeping in the bed, they gotta go.
Right.
Got
Well,
to
for
go.
two reasons. One
Safe.
is pediatric nursing is my background, so it's a safety issue, especially with infants. But then beyond that, it is because the relationship that birthed them is a relationship that needs to stay strong. And so once they are old enough, they need to be in their own space, and that's for their own good.
Mhm.
Because we were not designed to have kids and then coddle them. Until they were 20 and then
Mhm.
release them to the world. We were actually designed to bring them into the world and then systematically help them grow and develop within it for the rest of their lives.
Mhm.
That's what parenting is. The truth is there aren't really any really good there's not like marriage lessons 101 or
Mhm.
parenting 101. There are lots of books out there
Mhm.
that give advice and guidance, but hey, at the end of the day, it's about the two of you figuring that thing out, because those books can give you guidance, but those books don't know your kids.
Yeah, and so I think the important thing, I read John McNeil's comment
Mm-hmm.
real quick. He says, "I don't believe that kids cause divorce. However, I do believe that if there are differences or of beliefs on how a child should be raised or disciplined, as well as how they are allowed to manipulate their parents against one another,
Yes.
can contribute to or reveal deeper issues that parents refuse to resolve, which entail may lead to divorce."
Yeah.
That
Good.
manipulation thing, John. Thanks for picking that
That's
up,
real.
because kids do manipulate. And I know all y'all think, "Ooh, manipulate, bad word." Listen,
That's the right word.
how are we gonna play it? Both ends against the middle, like playing mom against dad, whatever it is. Like I remember doing it. I mean, I was old enough that I remember doing that. Like,
Oh my
okay,
goodness.
I know what you said, so I'm gonna dip on
Mm-mm.
over here. Hopefully, dad didn't hear that. Let me see. Let me check in and see what he gonna say.
Right.
Those are those little things that if there isn't an agreement about how we're going to manage this, and
Mm-hmm.
if you don't kind of cut off all the exits, you'll find yourself kind of at odds
Yes.
over this little person, right? That
Yep.
is not meant to say. And by the way,
Mm-hmm.
the most important relationship, now whether you agree with this or not, that's your business, but the most important relationship, right, the one that is till death do us part, the one that is like this covenant relationship, it is with your spouse. Period. Nothing gets in the way of that.
Right. And I don't think in the Bible it says that you're making or agreeing or entering a covenant relationship with your children.
No, matter of fact, they're supposed to leave. Period. They're supposed to leave. Think about
Right.
that.
And so, yeah.
We're putting permanent effort on temporary.
Right.
I'm sorry, but
And
anyway, you know what I'm
so,
saying.
in all fairness, and just to make sure that we are really being sensitive to everyone,
Mm-hmm.
we are talking about in average or normal circumstances where the kids do not have health issues or
Mm-hmm.
any other need that would preclude them from being able to grow, develop, and mature,
Sure.
um, and on a regular schedule or
Mm-hmm.
normally. So we're talking about that, not if you have a child with special needs, which
Mm-hmm.
brings its own challenges, or
Yeah.
children with illnesses, which brings its own challenges.
Mm-hmm.
As a pediatric nurse that specialized in oncology, I saw that a lot. When children come down with terrible illnesses or terminal illnesses, it can really tear a family apart.
Mm-hmm.
But even in those circumstances, it was usually something that was underlying or had been ongoing before that thing happened
Mm-hmm.
that made them vulnerable. And
Yeah.
so when something like that happens, it can completely destroy the marriage and the family.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We were reading some stuff last week, I think it
Mm-hmm.
was, just on various types of things,
Yeah.
and the differences that you often see in the
Mm-hmm.
relationship
Mm-hmm.
based on what's going on. And
Yeah.
so sometimes, say, like autism
Mm-hmm. Oh
is
yeah.
pretty prevalent and can put a real strain on marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting thing, um, I think it was Downs, right,
Yeah.
where it seemed that didn't necessarily put as much strain, in
Right.
particular because those the kids tend to be a little bit more, bit more calm, and there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of support and resources and all these things, and so
Mm-hmm.
it tended not to put as much strain on the marriage. But
Yep.
I guess the bottom line is, if there's something else like that going on, it adds another factor
Yep.
that can put a good deal of stress on the relationship.
Yeah.
What we're talking about tonight. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that it can also be that children with special needs strengthens marriages and
Hmm.
families
Yes.
because it forces you to come together,
Hmm.
right? And to really work together through that process. So that can also be true. That's what I
Okay.
was going to
Well,
say.
suppose my kid doesn't have special needs. I just got a good old garden variety kid that likes to just raise hell sometimes. I mean,
Yeah. Well,
then what?
one thing we've also said, particularly, I think I said it for the first time in our small group,
Hmm.
that your children are not necessarily carbon copies of you,
Hmm.
but you are uniquely equipped to raise those kids.
Oh, is that right?
Yes, your
I,
children.
I've heard you. I heard you say that, but
You heard me say that
I don't.
because
Yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know.
because we get into these things where it's like, where is this coming from? Why are they doing this?
Hmm.
Who is this? And then we realize that, and I've said it, I didn't know you when you were a kid.
Hmm.
I only knew you as an adult. I didn't see the norming and informing process that
Hmm.
made you who you are, but I get to see some of that through our kids. And so when it does manifest, it's like, oh my goodness, what do I do with this? How do I handle this? And vice
I
versa.
don't know who those kids are. That I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
None of that
Well,
look like me.
it's a little bit of you, a little bit of
I think
me,
it's a whole
and
lot of
then
you.
it's a little bit of them,
Just
right? So
a whole
there's
lot of
also
them.
that X factor. It's the rest of it. So Jennifer Marner, Jemima, Deborah Reed, thanks for joining us, and Jessica Jones. It's always good to have you on
If
here.
Terrell Tarver
Terrell
is on,
Tarver.
come
All
on now.
right.
What's up, man?
So there were a couple comments that came up in there. You want to catch some of those?
Let me see. Okay,
Yeah,
is
yeah.
Rail purposeful? We're going
Mm-hmm.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bella says, I don't think they cause divorce, but on the
Mm-hmm.
flip side, I wouldn't want my spouse to remain married to me for the kids because once the kids are gone, then what? Of
Exactly.
course. Yep.
Right. And so, that's the other part of this. Why do we talk about strengthening marriage? Well, because as Mike said, the kids are really kind of a temporary thing. They are passing through.
Hmm.
They are kind of passengers on this ride. And when they get off, who's left? Right. And so it is important that you are focused on each other, that all of your attention doesn't just shift to those children, which
Hmm.
often happens when you first have a baby. The mother's attention generally, in most cases, shifts more towards those babies in the initial stages, which means that it shifts away from the husband for a period of time. Guess what? They come back. They come back. It is true. Just in case you were
Wait a
wondering or
minute.
you're in that
Who
space,
you talking to? Who comes back?
I don't know who comes back.
You said they come back. Who comes
Yeah,
back?
the attention comes back.
Oh, yes, it does
So it's a
eventually.
temporary
But
shift.
if you're on that every 2 year plan, and some of y'all are, it may have been a while since that attention has come
Oh my
back,
goodness. But
right?
it does come back.
Well, it does come back, but
Hmm.
it takes some effort because
Yeah.
some people make this transformation, and
Hmm.
I think it's probably the day that kid is born,
Yeah.
and they will even say this child is the most important thing in my life right now, right? And
Hmm.
so every minute of every day, I'm gonna make sure I'm with them, or I know where they are, and then, but they don't. That never well, that doesn't end, right? All of a sudden,
Right.
now I don't want just anybody to babysit them, which of course you don't, right?
Hmm.
But what
Hmm.
that means in translation, I don't want anybody to
Yes.
babysit them,
Yes.
unless it's like my auntie or my mom or my sister or whatever,
Somebody you trust.
somebody like a family
Yes.
member that's 1,000 miles away. So you only get that every maybe once a year, and
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
and maybe we don't date now because well
Yeah.
we got the kids and we can't go, or because we're listen if you and some of y'all hear me right, if you're doing soccer and taekwondo and dance, tap, ballet, jazz, hip hop, and piano
Oh
lessons,
my goodness.
and I mean, at some point, people,
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, no wonder your love life jacked up, right? Because you spend all your time down at the dance studio. I've been there. I know everything I just mentioned. We have been there, and
Yeah.
then one day it was like, okay, wait a minute. Listen up, kids. Pick one. You pick the one you love because that's what you're gonna be doing if you're doing anything,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that
But
was important for us.
we went through that because we wanted them to be exposed to a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But then there came a time where they had to choose,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you only have the time that you have. And one of the things that we realized in all of that running around was that they spent most of their time during the day in school. Then we were rushing from school to some activity. We were eating on the way. And then when we got home, everybody was exhausted. And while that may have seemed to be a necessary thing, it was a choice and a decision that we made. We had to get to a point where it wasn't just this endless cycle of just doing stuff. and not being able to enjoy it
Mhm.
because what happened then. So it starts out, you're excited, you have the baby for the mom, and all your attention goes to the baby, and then you're trying to straddle baby and husband and anything else. And then you continue on for a number of years, and then
You see
straddle.
it.
Oh, yeah, all
I
those
mean,
things.
if it was that.
Yes, you're torn between two things, and you're trying to work it out.
Mm-hmm.
And so you continue on that, and then you put yourself last. That is often what happens for a
Mm-hmm.
number of years until you reclaim it. And what we say is that you really need to protect and reclaim your time
Yeah.
with each other. There has to be, the children need to know and respect the relationship that you have as husband and wife.
Mm-hmm.
They need to see the outward expression of love often, and they need to know unequivocally that the two of you are there for the two of you first. And
Mm-hmm.
so we're not saying sit your kids down when they're two and say, hey, look, you're on your own. This is about us. Catch us in the morning. We're not saying that. But what we are saying is that you both need to constantly check in with each other and agree on where you want it to go, and check in to see if it's going in the way that you want it to go.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about kids and how you're going to raise them before you have them. And if you didn't have that talk and you already have them, it's not too late to have that talk now.
Yeah.
And then you have that talk again when it's time to launch them. So
Yeah.
we have a
Well,
number of friends who are empty nesters right
yeah.
now.
Yep.
Yeah, so we
And
definitely want to hear from you guys.
I'm looking forward to that, even though I'm not. But
Yeah.
but I think that the it is important for everybody to understand what this is from early on, and
Yes.
so
Starting with the two of you.
well, yeah, of course, right?
Mhm.
And so, but how do you let, say, an infant know what this is from early on? Well, you maybe find a good babysitter and go to dinner, right? And
Some separation.
separation,
Mhm.
because actually that is an important part of the developmental process. Because healthy separation
Mhm.
looks like, because what's going to first happen, particularly early on,
Yes.
particularly mother and baby tend to be very close, and then
Mhm.
you have to leave that child somewhere at some point,
Yeah.
right? Well, what happens is when you leave that first time, the kid is going to scream bloody murder, generally speaking, if they
Yeah.
recognize that you're gone. And you're going to feel guilty and feel bad. Some people, some parents don't want to feel bad, so they just don't leave them.
Yeah.
But if you do that, you're actually really disrupting a very important part of the developmental process, because the child needs to know not only that you might leave, but they need to know that you're going to come back.
Yes.
The coming back consistently, that's the key part. And if you have a
That's
parent
important.
that leaves, has to do what they have to do, and they come back consistently, what
Mhm.
you'll find is that behavior, that crying and all that craziness just settles down because
Yeah.
they know.
Yeah.
And you'll find children who don't have a healthy attachment.
Mhm.
You often, if you trace that, you'll find that the parents were inconsistent or unavailable altogether.
Mhm.
And so if a child doesn't know, they feel like they don't know what's going to happen, you'll see it emerge in disruptive behavior,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So that's important, but that's how you bring your kid along from the very beginning, right?
Yeah.
Everybody has things that they have to do. If they understand that,
Mhm.
and they will,
Yeah.
it'll be a lot more peaceful, and you'll be able to continue to work on your relationship and not take a 5 year, 6 year, 7, 10 year break
Mhm.
from working on your relationship,
Yeah, and
right?
from paying attention to each other. So Latoya Jones says sometimes things are so bad that parents don't want the children to be continuously exposed to the negativity, and they make a decision to co-parent instead. And that's true. And in some situations that becomes the case, and that has worked for some people. But I think even in your comment, it is that things are bad between you, right? And that's before the kids or even after the kids. But again, having the kids really kind of amplifies whatever is not good or not right between you.
Mm-hmm.
So Jessica Jones says, I think children weed out the weak. Yes, they do. They do. You're exactly right. They will
I,
completely expose where you are vulnerable.
I think children,
Mhm.
they may, if you thought you were strong, right?
Yes.
I challenge you, and this is just random, just sit in a place, I don't know, that you used to go, church, airplane. That's a good
Mhm.
one. That first time, but that kid won't settle down, it will humble you
Yeah,
quite a bit.
movies.
Oh yeah, the
Yeah,
movies.
yeah.
Hmm.
So Jamima says, heavily tough and important topic right here. Thanks for unpacking. Thank you. And thank all of you for tagging people or sharing this. It is an important conversation to have because it's one that we don't often have. A lot of us struggle through. And what happens is we choose where we think we're going to get the most love at a given time, if that makes sense. So
Mm-hmm.
when you have children, that focus, that attention, and everything that
Mm-hmm.
goes towards your kids, if you completely forget about your spouse, and that's on either side of it, and focus solely on the children, then somebody is missing out on
Mm-hmm.
something. And what I'll say is that you're both missing out on something. So you really want to be acutely aware of where your time and attention is being spent. Mark Jenkins, thanks for joining us.
Oh, Mark, you
All
gotta
right.
gotta be a hater. Anyway, you know what time it is.
Yes.
Another thing I say on kids and love too,
Hmm.
very important. Love is interesting. Love is like, I don't know. It's like putting water in a well. You get back as much or more than you put in, right? And
Mm,
so we
that's
don't have to
good.
actually prove to our children every single minute we love them, right?
No, no.
You let them know, you treat them with love, right? You hug on them, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But you don't have to do it 24/7, and you
Hmm.
don't have to not go. I keep coming back to a date, right? I'm
Yeah.
fill
Yeah.
in blank with whatever it is you're not doing that you used to do that you need to do, but you don't have to not do all those things to prove that your
Hmm.
kid that you love them and to make
Hmm.
sure they're gonna be there for you when, when they're gone, right?
Yes.
So I think that's
Yeah.
important.
And generally, we are in situations where we have at least two rooms in our homes, one for us and one for them. And that's another distinction to make. Your room should be your room. It should be your sanctuary. It should be where you can walk around naked if you want to, and not um, like not be afraid, not worry about being walked in on or interrupted. They should know and respect that as your space,
That's right.
as will you respect their space, although they're
Now,
only temporarily in that space, so it's not really theirs.
so
It's
listen,
kind of like
let me help you out
they're
real quick,
renters.
because when you said respect their space, I'm pretty. I know a couple of y'all. I know a couple of y'all are like,
Ah,
you got no space here. So
yes.
let me help you.
Hmm.
There's two extremes we're talking about.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
like the, let them come and like have the full run of the house because it's our home and all that, and then
Mm-hmm.
there's the, the other thing about, respecting their space or and all that. Look,
Privacy at a certain
privacy.
age. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at a certain age, I mean, knock on the door, people. It's fine. But as far let's talk about your space for a second, because I think it's important for home to be home, right?
Yes.
And our home is home for our children.
Yes.
About what, 80% of that house, 85,
Yeah. Maybe
uh,
90%.
90,
Yeah.
whatever is not our bedroom. I mean, they do what they can go where they like, right?
Yep.
But when they get close to that door, they need to have a sense of, you know what? If I come in here, it's for two reasons: to ask for something or to get my hair done because that's what mom does hair.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Do not cross.
but
It's
they come
like
and talk. They come and
laser
talk.
beams and a moat
Yeah,
outside our door.
yeah. They that's funny. They means a moat, a
Yes.
Rottweiler, but
Security system. Beep, 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 beep.
cameras.
You cannot enter here.
Right, but they come in, they sit, they talk, but they recognize when they come into our room,
Hmm.
it is a different kind of place. It's not like hanging out in the living room,
Right.
right?
Like our bed is special.
Yeah, right. And so if yeah, so I mean everything is it's just different there, right?
Yeah.
Because you need
Yeah.
that.
And I think when you establish those boundaries within your home, it may teach your children to respect boundaries in other places.
Hmm.
When within the home, you are teaching them that they have a right to go anywhere they want and do whatever they want inside your home, they will undoubtedly have a more difficult time adjusting to other environments where they don't have free reign. And so just
But
consider that. I mean, that's not necessarily a parenting tip, but it kind of is. No,
but
yes, it is. That's a
but
parenting tip.
yeah, but honestly, y'all they can do whatever they want to do out there. All I'm saying is you need to get
No.
up out my room. So I mean, because it's less about really keeping the kids out
Yeah.
than it is about creating a space that's your own, that
Yes.
you know is your own, right?
Yes.
I mean, sometimes, I mean, truth be told, we be, getting getting ready.
Doing
I'm trying to
adult
get
stuff.
close. You know what I mean? And when they be
Adult
like,
stuff.
she's like, "Hey, is the door locked?" I'm like, "I don't care
For
if
22
nobody is
years,
coming in
for
here."
22 years, I've been asking that question.
And
Or at least 20 years, I've been asking that
and
question.
you know how many
Is the
times
door
anybody
locked?
has walked in that room?
That we are aware.
Not a
None.
one. That's right.
I say that we're aware.
That we're aware.
I
I mean,
mean,
that's
because
only
you've
because of
been
your.
walked in on a couple times.
Well, I mean,
It's usually
just
Sydney.
that one time.
Yeah,
But I mean, but it was
that'll scar you for life.
yeah. Unfortunately, we
Yeah,
have a whole lot of like
that's why we have the
betting
security system and the moat and the laser beam.
and leave the door squeaky just in case. But that's another story.
Just in case, so you can hear him
Right.
coming over the floor. Anyway, Mark Jenkins and your lovely wife, congratulations on celebrating 18 years.
Congratulations.
And if you ever need to talk to us about going through it with a teenage daughter, hey, hit us up because that's where we are. That's where we've been for
Man,
the last 10 years, it feels like.
shoot, 13 years old.
So,
That's
yeah,
you
he
enter
just
into. I
going
mean, you're
in.
getting into the real stuff right
So
now.
Jamima says, if we had to be honest, kids take over. When parents are not thinking as an individual on improving parental skills, they are teaming up or they are praying and planning for the future. It's easy to forget the marriage if we are not careful. We have to regroup regularly as parents to communicate about maintaining the marriage while raising kids. Amen.
Yeah.
Couldn't have said it better. She also says check in with each other. Most parents need to do that. Yes. And that is true. Not just, and so something that we read said check in, or you should make it a goal. I'll put this out as a challenge. At least once every 2 weeks, once every 2 weeks, and
Hmm.
then once a year to make sure that you're both still headed in the same direction, that you're on the same team and you're after the same goals.
Yeah.
So that's good. And this says it's hard to find volunteer babysitters these days to take to take breaks often. LOL. And that's true. So some more parenting tips or some marriage
Hmm.
tips. We when we led our marriage ministry, we had a whole series on keeping it hot. And one of the things that we said was you may not always be able to find a babysitter, but you can find ways to get some separation.
Yeah.
So I'm always happy to share those things. So the one I'll share tonight is we bought a tent.
Quick
So
tip.
buy a tent. You can get a tent pretty cheap at Walmart. It only has to be big enough for 2 people, and your feet don't even have to be in there. Get a tent and pitch a tent in your bedroom.
Yeah.
Date night.
We did that.
Oh right.
And by the way, with regard to babysitting,
Yeah.
I would look at babysitting as like a legit investment,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so whatever it is you spend money on, I would
Yes.
take a look at that and see if there's something that you can save toward babysitting. Our oldest daughter Sydney is in the
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta area. She's on a what do you call it? Is a an
App.
app, right?
Yeah.
Called
Yeah.
USIT, whatever. And
Use
so
it.
there's a way they all these babysitters they register, etc. But she's like a USIT like champion. I mean, she's like one of the top
Yeah.
sitters in
We
the
put
Atlanta
that out
area.
there before
Yeah.
on here. Yeah.
And so I don't know if Augusta has anything like that, but some of y'all towns have that, and I think that, and then they negotiate pricing and all that, but
Yeah.
it is really important. So
Yeah, and
you know,
start out with maybe just small increments of time. Date night doesn't have to be 4 or 5 hours or overnight away.
yeah,
Some of you have worked up to that, but start 30 minutes at a time, 30 minutes, 1 hour, just enough
yeah.
time to have time away for you.
Go get some ice cream. I
And like
mean,
I said, you can always pitch a tent in your
yeah.
bedroom.
And we escaped to Walmart that one night
Yes.
after was that Morgan?
Morgan, yes. That was like, woo.
Whoa, boy,
Hey,
out
Kim
20, baby. Oh, sorry.
Tim
Go
and
ahead.
Tony Aiken. Yes, you guys are out there freezing at that fair, I'm sure, but have a good time out there at the Columbia County Fair.
Yeah.
Let me tell y'all, those of you who are not down here in the South, you are missing out. They will do a fair, and the fair like jumps around from county to county, state to
Yeah.
state. And it's a fair with animals and everything, and rides and food, but it's a good time.
Yeah,
So,
I was judgmental at first, but I think I had a great time. The rodeo was amazing.
yes, have
That time.
fun.
Anyway.
All right, so keep working on the room thing. So Rella says, I'm new to the empty nest
Sorry.
and my husband and I work opposite shifts. So we have to make a concerted effort to capitalize on any moment we can get. We talk on the phone a lot and text, but we can physically be in each other's presence. Uh, yeah, we try to be 100% present. We both miss our child tremendously, but we recognize this is the time to continue to cultivate us. Amen. And so that is another journey. That's the other side of it. So we started out talking about going in, having an infant and changing things. But when you have invested and supported that child for at least 18 years of their life, and then they leave, it's another transition. And it's so important throughout that continuum to stay connected with each other because that's when what it really reveals how close you've been and how close you are.
Hmm.
Because then, just like with deployment, and I think that came up in a previous talk that we had, you adjust to the separation, you
Mhm.
adjust to missing each other, you adjust to compensating in different ways. And so then when whatever that is that had your attention is gone and
Mhm.
it's just the two of you, it's like, who are you? Because you're not who I married, or when did
Mhm.
all that gray hair get there? I
That's
mean,
funny.
it's one of those things. So
Mhm.
I applaud you on that part of the journey. Ashley Ransom, thanks for joining us, and Alprentice Smith,
Hey,
always glad to see you, and
yeah.
Candace Terrell. So Ashley Ransom says, I really need help with that part. I have an older group of kids and then younger group. The top
Go ahead.
the toddler walk each night back and forth and bring toys. We need our room back, lol.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh,
So the thing about that, right? They want to be close to you. They want to spend time with you, especially if you are their primary playmate. But if you have an older group of kids that are still in the home and you have a younger group, if they're still in the home, you need to connect those two groups so
mhm.
that you are employing the older group to help with the younger group.
Mhm.
If you only have that younger group, then bedtime has to be a set time. And as much and as painful as it is initially, you got to do it. You got to close that door, make sure they're safe, close that door, and focus on each other. And that's how they will learn to respect that time.
Well, and you know what kids enjoy too? They enjoy routine and ritual, right? And
Yes.
so because I know a lot of y'all like, and I
Mhm.
like to get those hugs.
Mhm.
Cool. Get your
Mhm.
hugs, right? Have a
Uh
hug
huh.
time. Like just get into it. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yes.
Sing, read, all that stuff.
Mhm.
Absolutely do that.
Yeah.
And then let them know, okay,
Mhm.
now it's time for mommy and daddy time.
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna holler at you in the morning when we eating these Cheerios, but you
Mhm.
nasty, whatever. But make it part of the routine, and
Yes.
and they will come along.
So they know that mommy and
Sometimes.
daddy time is not family time, and it's a separate thing. So Candace, I love. She says she hates it when her 11-year-old comes and gets in their bed. So this is what I learned, and I learned it a little late because I had a 17-year-old that would come in there whenever she wanted to talk about something, and there were times when she would like lay on the bed, and I'm looking at her like, "Who are you, and why? How did you breach my security coming in
And
here?
I'm walking in there like,
What is this?" And so what I
you better
found
not do
out
something like
was
this.
they didn't like for me to be in their bed. So I would choose times when I'm like, hey, I have nothing to do. I'm going to go to their room and get in their bed and engage in conversation and just, give them an idea of how that feels. And it's not get back or anything.
I didn't.
I
You
think
what
it's
you gonna
good.
say?
Yeah, you
Go
didn't
ahead.
know that was happening? Oh,
Mm-mm.
yes. And
But
both of them, I've done this with both of them because I learned with the first one, tried it with the second. They look at you like, can I help you? And it's like, really? I mean, and so then I just hang out for a minute, just enough to make it uncomfortable. The bottom line is you
that
have
is
to
not. Let
establish
me
the
tell y'all. Let me
boundaries.
tell y'all the real. I mean, that's a thing, I suppose, right? But oftentimes
I've
that
done that.
that whole coming in just lay there
Hmm.
thing, like one of them is like she maybe wants to talk, but she doesn't kind of know how to get into it.
Yeah,
So
that's
she's
true
just like
too.
waiting, and so yeah, you
Hmm.
be like kind of engaged and kind of tell
Yeah.
people that I mean,
I
getting back
I
at the
had to
girls.
learn. I didn't say I said it wasn't like
I
I
know,
was getting
but it
back,
sounds like
but I had to do that because again, the boundary is what the boundary is. Do we make exceptions and do we make concessions? Yes,
it. Mm-hmm.
but they still have to recognize and learn it first. So
Mm-hmm.
Jennifer Marner said our room has always been off limits unless they're having an emotional breakdown, usually related to boys. Amen. Yes. And so again,
Right.
there has to be a time when they can come to you. So we're not saying have kids create barrier, then don't pick them up again until later. Certainly that's not what we're saying. But they do need to understand, know, and respect the
Maybe
boundaries.
intercom. Um,
Yes.
yeah, it sounds like crying. You all right?
Yeah.
No, that's
So Jessica Jones says, I think the infant and toddler stages are the hardest on a couple because they need you more and moms are just exhausted. That can be true. And that's why mom's day out programs and play dates really became a thing because it's we're all in this together. Let's share some of this time and some of this responsibility.
yeah. Well, and their fathers. I mean, hey, listen. Sometimes you got to invest in what you want, right? And so I hear moms and play dates and everything, but a lot of times it's about really kind of coming and helping with all kinds of things, right? I mean, I could probably still do hair today if I really, really tried. It would be crazy, but
Yeah.
I could probably still do
Hair,
that.
nails, all
Um,
that.
yeah, I mean, yeah, that's pretty much. all that. So
Yes, yes. So Gloria Hamilton has joined us. Okay, Gloria, thank you. And then Jeff Hill replying, okay. He said you got to roll, Jay.
okay, we
Yeah.
can't the ring we got
Mm-hmm.
Jennifer Marner.
Oh, Jennifer Marner. Yes, babysitting and date night have been budgeted for years. We even picnicked so we could pay for the babysitter. Yes, whatever it takes.
That's it.
Just like everything else that you do together as a couple, invest in your marriage. We talk about finances, right, and investing in seeing a return on your investment. You
Mhm.
will absolutely see a return on your investment when you invest in your marriage, invest in each other.
No question.
Okay, so Kim Aiken, oh, take a weekend away, LOL, yes. Kim Aiken replied to Jessica, and Jessica, I hope you saw that. She
But
said, I totally agree that even the 6 to 9 years will keep a mom exhausted. I'm just learning to make time for myself.
okay,
That's
see,
great.
so we're gonna have to let them talk to each other right
Yeah,
there
we'll let
because
y'all talk to each
I
other
mean
right
y'all
there.
y'all keep that up.
Great advice. She said, shh, or my husband will put in
Put that intercom in. I'm telling you, do it. I mean, why not? Why not?
Oh my goodness. So
I mean,
Rashonda
put a
left.
ring.
Thanks for
I'm putting a
joining
ring
us.
outside the. We can put a ring system
Thanks
outside
for
the room.
joining us. My youngest is 2 and will not sleep in his bed. If he cannot physically touch or hold on to us during the night, he has a full on meltdown. I blame his daddy for putting him in the bed as a newborn. Well, here's the thing.
You just touched on one of Wendy's hot button issues.
Yes, you still
Oh.
have time to get him to be a little independent, and it is extremely painful. It's one of the hardest things you guys will ever have to do, and it will break your heart. But let me tell you, you will heal and you will get over it, and your sex life will improve and be better than it ever was.
You will heal faster than a paper cut.
And the thing is, I mean, hey, we all know what a quickie is. Sometimes you just got to go ahead and get in what you can get in. And then if you just can't take it, then you let him back in. But he has to go.
But listen,
He has to
okay,
go
let me now
with a suitcase.
see. Oh, I got a cramp in my toe, my left toe. Listen, here's the thing: the kids will. We talked about this a little bit, and we've talked about it several times, right?
Yeah.
The meltdown is gonna come,
It is.
and that the meltdown is actually okay because crying is not dangerous,
Nope.
right? But what crying is meant to do, we talked about manipulation earlier.
Yes.
Crying is meant to get you to do something different than what you have done,
Yes.
right? And so you will have to endure some crying, perhaps like painfully long spells of crying.
All night.
Maybe,
Sometimes.
probably, I would say maybe all night, but most kids
Yeah.
won't last all night.
Most of them
They
won't.
will run out of gas, but
Yeah,
you have
some
to,
of 'em.
and then there'll be like another night, right?
Yeah.
And so once you've made it past night one, now you're in. You gotta stick with it. But I won't
Yes.
break down all the psychological principles for you, right? But once you get going down a particular road, because remember the kid's trying to get you to change, right?
Yes.
And so the minute you open that door, they're like, aha,
Gotcha.
this works.
Yes.
And so the next time, guess what? They'll cry longer and
Mhm.
cry harder,
Mhm.
right? And so every time you reset, you're kind of pushing the clock back.
Yep.
So important thing, if you're trying to shift behavior, crying actually it'll be fine, and they'll get tired and they'll go to sleep.
Yep.
And and frankly, we'll tell you, and we're not saying do this. That's what we did, right? when our kids when it's time to go from crib to bed, and
Mhm.
they didn't want to like stay where they were, and
Yeah.
Sydney was most difficult. She was by herself.
Yes.
Um,
Oh my goodness.
So she come in there and she cry, and we're like, okay, it's like, nah,
Yeah.
we can't do this. So
Mm-mm.
we said, okay, we make sure everything was locked down, childproof.
Yep.
We would not let her in that door.
Made sure she was safe. And I can tell you, there were times when we woke up in the morning, you open the door, and Sydney's like right there,
Twice to be exact.
sleep outside our door. It
Pitiful.
was the most heartbreaking thing ever. But we got a good night's
But
sleep.
yeah, you know what? She discovered in like just about 3 nights or so that her bed was much more comfortable than the floor outside our door.
Yes.
Problem solved
Yes.
forever.
Yes.
Probably too
Yeah.
well.
But it
So-
is heartbreaking, and
Yeah.
it is difficult. So we we say it lightheartedly, but we truly understand how hard that is. But it is good for you.
Latoya said, "Weeping may endure for a night." Yes,
But joy.
indeed. Yes, indeed. Oh, that's hilarious.
Yes. So what we were talking about tonight, if you joined us late or you're just joining us, we're talking about whether or not children cause divorce. And at the very top of the hour, I said our position, I was speaking for you, but our position was that children in and of themselves do not cause
They don't.
divorce, but they do expose or amplify any vulnerabilities that you have or any problems that exist in your relationship
Mhm.
prior to having children. One bit of wisdom that we got when we first got married was to stay married to each other and enjoy each other for about 5 years before we had children. And we were
Right.
like, yeah, okay, thanks. We'll put that on the pile with all of the
All
other
that other
advice
advice.
that we
Come on,
got.
man.
That was
This is
actually
us.
really sound and good
I
advice.
guess. I mean, what is 5 2? It doesn't. I mean, it doesn't
Yeah.
even matter really
Yeah.
because ultimately, you know, I think that people are always speaking from their perspective, just like we're doing right now.
Yes.
You got to determine what right looks like for
Mm-hmm.
you,
Mm-hmm.
right? You got to kind of talk about that thing because
Yes.
you know, from everything from how many kids to what you do and all those things. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Candace, it'll be okay. Trust
Yeah.
me, it'll be fine, right? But yeah, or maybe it is fine with her. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So you just got to decide, you know,
Mm-hmm.
mutually what you're going to do, and
Mm-hmm.
then support each other through it, whatever that is, or
Yeah.
help each other, keep each other accountable, remind each other, hey, you know what, this is, you know, I want to be, you know, in relationship with you,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, I want to show you, you know, I want to just, you know, date you and take you out and just be with you and enjoy you and all that, and it is possible for those things to coexist. You can raise children and you can still have a romantic relationship that you're cultivating, a marriage that you're trying to grow and strengthen. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we did look up a couple of articles on this, and there were two things that we wanted to share with you. And one was um, basically it said when people marry, they're usually in love and happy to be tying the knot, but after that, things tend to change. On average, couples' satisfaction with their marriage declines during the first years of marriage, and and if the decline is particularly steep, unfortunately, divorce may follow. The course of true love runs downhill, and that's why you factor in what happens when it's time to start buying a car seat and diapers. The irony is that even as the marital satisfaction of new parents declines, the likelihood of them divorcing also declines. So having children may make you miserable, but you'll be miserable together.
Who wrote this? So listen, I mean, that may be actually totally true, but
Mm,
you don't have to be miserable. That's the thing, right? I think that
mhm.
um, people, okay, if this, some
But
people choose to be miserable.
mm,
Some people say, you know what, this is what it is, misery, or you know, we just gonna get by. That's their
they
choice.
suffer through.
They suffer through because they decide, yeah, we're gonna suffer through instead of really, you know, doing the things that may be a little bit uncomfortable to make the shifts that
Hmm.
make it possible to make it really special. So you
Hmm.
don't have to like suffer through,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So Gloria Hamilton said, yes, it is very sound advice, but she also says, get to know, understand, and enjoy each other first before you bring in the
The
blockers.
blockers.
And
It's
that's what they do. I mean,
like the Iron Curtain.
like we said, like Mike said at the beginning, we love our children with everything that we have, everything that we
Yeah.
are. But at the same time, they have a place and a role in our lives, just like we have a place and a role in theirs.
And they've known since very early that Wendy, you know, hey, Wendy's my woman. Wendy's my girl. And so, I mean, it's like I love y'all, but you know, you understand your mom is like that's my queen. They know that,
Yeah.
always have.
Well, we were
So
having a very, very intense discussion with our with one of our daughters. I'll just say that the other day, and she looked at me and she said, "And you just take his side on everything."
like, and
I was like, "Yep, you got me. You right."
oh my goodness, so
I couldn't
funny.
in the moment. I really couldn't say anything, but she was upset about that thing, and it was true. But I didn't apologize, and I didn't make a concession in that moment.
Hmm.
It was just like, well, okay.
I appreciate that. You could have made a concession in that moment.
Yeah, but I didn't.
Yeah,
I
I
didn't.
appreciate it. Janae Morris and Johnny Williams, welcome.
Yes,
Hey,
Jeanette.
Janae, what I say?
Janae.
Jeanette. I mean,
Jeanette.
Janae, I
Yes.
mean,
Hey,
two T's and
Jeanette.
an E. I mean, I don't know about
Yes,
it.
that's Platinum Shears Salon. I know a
Hey,
couple of you have been by her place. I've seen and heard she does amazing work. So thank
mhm,
you for joining us. And Johnny Williams, thank you for tuning in. So what we've been
mm,
talking about tonight is, can kids cause divorce? And the position of the Perrys is that they do not. But we do want to encourage you to strengthen your relationship, define your relationship, and then revisit that. So one article that we saw said revisit that about every 2 weeks to make sure that you're headed
mm.
in the same direction and that you still share the same goals. And then every year, kind of look at what the vision is for your marriage and make sure that you're still on track.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And you have enough love to give to everybody in your house and
Mm-hmm.
have plenty left. Um, we have to love our spouses enough to show them that we love them. We have to love our kids enough. We give them what they need, and we also kind of let them know, um, hey, you know what, mommy, daddy, they're like really important to me too. And so you don't have to prove it, right?
That's good.
You don't have to prove it. So, but what you do need to do is do the work that's required to make sure that the most important relationship in your house is strong. That marriage is the most important relationship in your home, period, point blank. And if that's not strong, every other relationship will be weaker. Your
Yes,
children are actually learning how to do relationship from you,
yes, yes.
right? And you will find, and I tell my friends this all the time. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
man, you spend all these years thinking that you're gonna go make your own decisions, and then you like fight like crazy to be just like your parents, right? And you don't even know it.
Mm,
You're showing your kids, you're modeling for them things they're gonna demonstrate just automatically without even thinking about it. But you want to
mm.
show them.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
So
it.
thank you guys for joining us tonight. We won't be back next Monday. We're actually going on a trip this week to Monterey.
Yep.
And so we mentioned to those of you that follow us that we are joining the Weekend to Remember, Family Life Weekend to Remember speaking team. So we're excited about it. We're
Yeah.
going for some training this weekend, and that will carry us over to Tuesday next week. So we're gonna miss you guys, but we'll be back at it the following week. I'll put something up that lets you know when we'll be back. When we'll be back. Keep your comments coming. Share this if you think somebody can benefit. Like the page. Invite your friends. Also, on our old page, OGBC Married Couples, on that marriage ministry page, Cheryl and London Dubois are doing a great job posting some thought provoking love questions. And so, check them out as well. Support. We're all in this together, and we want your marriage to be strong. We want it to be healthy, and we want it to last. Yep, that's all I got.
Hey,
What
you
you got?
did great. That
Yes.
is it. Thank y'all for joining us in the marriage shop, and we will see you soon. Please share this, like it, and share it some more. All right.
Good night.
Bye. Every morning that you